And what's happening out there is that even though it's very low density out in the suburbs, and it's not even built out, you have traffic congestion because two reasons. One is that every single trip hits the collector, and the other one is that every single human activity needs a trip. That's why the traffic congestion is out there. The old system of the network distributes traffic, and you intelligently, you download the intelligence, not to the traffic engineer circa 1970 when they decided, when they did the traffic analysis, but with a grid, it's an open network, you download the intelligence every day. Every day you decide, I'll go left, I'll go right, I'll go this, I'll do that. And people continually, it's like decentralized computing. You make a lot of intelligent decisions instead of a single central decision. The old traffic engineer that counts traffic is dependent upon a dendritic system in which everything hits one trip that you clip. Okay? That's one characteristic of suburban sprawl. And I want to explain exactly what suburban sprawl is, because it's not greenfield. Every single place we have ever built has been on greenfield. So the characteristic of suburban sprawl is not that it's on greenfield. That's off the table. Everything's on greenfield, including Manhattan. Okay? One characteristic, and neither is it the density. Because, for example, we know perfectly well that, for example, what's a town called Fairhope? Fairhope is very low density, right? And clearly it's walkable, right? So it's not the density either. Fairhope is walkable and it's low density, okay? So it's neither density nor, neither is it incomplete. Like you say, the suburbs, the shops aren't there. No. You know what? The suburbs have shops and workplaces and houses of different types. So the characteristic is not either of those three. The suburbs are also mixed use. The problem is that the suburbs have a dendritic system instead of a network. Okay? The problem is that that all of the places out there, the shopping and the working and the dwelling, instead of being assembled in close proximity, finely minced, finely grained, they're separated. The shops are all in one place because the specialized shopping center developers do only one thing. Don't make me do mixed use. I only do one thing. I only do the supermarket, and I only do the drugstore next to the supermarket, and I don't do housing. And then somebody else says, oh, I only do townhouses. Don't ask me to do affordable housing. I only do townhouses. And so what you get in the suburbs is the disaggregation of everything. You get shopping centers here, and office parks there, and business parks there, and expensive housing subdivisions here, and middle-class townhouses there, and all the affordable rental apartments here. We have the entire society out there, all the ingredients for making cities, and we don't assemble them. And the fundamental difference between these only two models, there are only two models, traditional neighborhood-based model in which you could walk to your neighborhood needs, and conventional suburban sprawl where you have to drive to everything. Suburban sprawl emerged because in the pursuit of accommodating the automobile, we made walking impossible. Okay? No one said, let's make walking impossible, but they made walking impossible. By actually having a single criteria, which is the flow of cars, the parking of cars, the signage of cars, the management of cars. And so we've created a place that's dysfunctional for the 21st century. Okay? And what you have to get on now, apart from the downtown, is you need to get all that stuff out there and spend a generation retrofitting it. And that's called, those places out there are called gray fields. You know how there are brown fields, which are the polluted ones? Because what's happened is, by the way, American industry took to the waterways. Okay? All the best real estate in America is in the waterways because industry needed the heavy transportation. Now, all those industries are now receding. Somebody said it's like the glacier of industry is now receding and revealing the best real estate in America because we're exporting the manufactured stuff to elsewhere, to other countries or, wherever they get a better tax break. So the real estate is being revealed. Okay, those are called brown fields, and we have to remediate them. But there's something called gray fields, which refers to the parking lots. And an awful lot of what's out there in suburbia are gray fields, and they all can easily and must be retrofitted into mixed-use communities. Particularly the shopping malls and the large shopping centers. Many of them, most of them, actually have only one thing. But they're ready to go. They have a huge real estate, they have a huge amount of open space. Nature has already been ruined, so you don't need to do any environmental studies. The neighbors hate you already. You've already maximally impacted traffic congestion. Everything you do is better, so there's no opposition. There's no opposition. What you need to do is get every one of those types out there, every one of those types. And remember, they're very, very distinct, because the ULI, Urban Land Institute, the so-called think tank of the developers, has made them concrete. Has made them very, very normative. Because they're normative, the solution is normative. You know how each one of them, those of you who are developers, you know very well that when Publix comes in, it comes in like a spaceship, complete with its footprint and its parking garage. And then comes the CVS spaceship. We land. And then comes the suburban apartment spaceship. You get to tinker with the look a little bit, but they all come in, and it's all worked out, and it lands. And then the townhouses land. They're all spaceships. It's a collection, it's a spaceship parking lot out there. Each of them is standard because the ULI demands them to be standard, because if they're not standard, they can't be funded, because they can't be bundled into groups of similar 200 identical products, so that the financial institutions can mince them up and sell them to the retirement funds. Okay? By the way, this big bust that happened is because real estate became completely abstract. It had to be absolutely normative. You don't get funded unless you have the 2 national tenants and the 16 stores and the 4.5 cars per 1,000 and 35,000 trips per day in front of you. And if you do that, you get funded, and then the banker gets it, and then somebody buys it from the banker, who then bundles it by 200, who then gets given to somebody who has $6 billion to invest every year, like Prudential. They've got to invest $6 billion. They can't look at anything. It's got to be absolutely standard. I've got a six-item checklist ready to go. And by the way, the planning department is totally complicit in this, because that's what's zoned. Okay? And the people who calculate traffic impact, the traffic engineers, they know exactly the traffic impact of that. They love the standardization. The entire system loves the standardization. Okay? And it's actually dumbed down our cities enormously. But what's so cool about it is that they're so dumb that they're vulnerable for takeover. It is such a stupid normative system that it has no resiliency at all. They're all monocultures. So you can actually march through your suburbs, identify the perfectly identifiable building types. The mall, right? The big box center, the suburban office park, the business park, the hotel, all of them, and how they cluster, and zone them to be mixed use. Don't wait for the developer. Don't wait for the developer to ask for it. And above all, don't create impediments if the developer initiates. Just take each one of them and says, you have 1 million square feet of retail? Fine. We're giving you 2,000 units, 700,000 square feet of office, and, by the way, 2 hotels to go. Go for it. What can you do with that? We just created for you $20 million of wealth. What can you do with that? Just, do you have any brains? Look at what we did. We just created this wealth. Go for it, make it mixed use, and then make sure that they build it in such a way that's walkable. You write just a few rules, but you basically grant them zoning, 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 so that all of these places, many of which are ready to go, they're not doing well financially, they're perfectly located for transportation, they're already on the best intersections, become town centers, and then all the housing around them, instead of having their value decay by proximity to the shopping center, actually raise in value because you can walk to the town center. And you create a vision of your suburbs, which are a series of city, town, and village centers out in the suburbs, which now seems like, what's this guy talking about? I'm not talking about the present. I'm talking about 20 years from now. And insofar as you get on with it, you'll be ready for what may be very bad news for America in the 21st century, but could also be very good news if we act on it immediately. So anyway, I don't think you understand what I said, and I told you exactly what to do, and you have an afternoon and Friday to get on with it.